Reader. I am Kathy Grimm, the Grim Reader. I am feeling a little frantic because I'm so busy. But I also feel like there's so much pent-up stuff I need to talk to you guys about. So I'm coming on here despite the fact that I have a pile of grading waiting, and it's been a bit of a crazy beginning of the semester. So we're in the third week now. The first week we had a weird snow day on Wednesday. So that threw part of my schedule off. And then on Friday afternoon, I started feeling really kind of sick. Like I thought it was from being really just worn out from the week, and that's partly what it was. But it did, and I already had a bit of a cough, and it did morph into nothing COVID-y. I tested twice, very negative for COVID. It wasn't COVID. It was what I would call a chest cold, a bronchial cold. So it was really much in the chest, a cough, feeling kind of blah. And am I allowed to say shitty on the internet? Anyway, so feeling low. And coughing enough so that even Bill, very sort of stoic Bill, is like, well, I don't think you're going to be teaching tomorrow with that cough on Sunday. So I had to cancel all my teaching. And anyone who's in a teaching schedule knows how we're loath to do that unless we're really ill, because it messes up our schedule so much. And that's exactly what happened. So I was sort of committed to not teaching because I was too ill. And then all of a sudden I was pretty ill already, just feeling blah and sick. And I was creating a video for my class because I didn't want us to be off schedule. So I created a video, I created an asynchronous task list for the other class. So I got all my ducks in a row in terms of, hey, I can't come in and teach, but do this stuff instead, which was good. But it was sort of stressful to be doing that while you're sick. You know, it's like more work because you're sick. Well, that meant that second week was sort of weird. And for that week, at least, I wore a mask back to teaching. Wednesday, when I went back, I was still pretty sick. But I didn't want to not teach again. I mean, the whole sort of the burden of the teacher, you know, your class, your responsibility, more or less. And so I went back on Wednesday, and it was fine to go back. It didn't hurt me that much, but I wasn't that well yet, which meant the classes were kind of like wacky. I mean, I taught them, but yeah. But the thing is, it didn't mean that the getting better was hindered. I still got better. And so I really could sense that it wasn't that serious, even though it was not good to be teaching. And since I hate wearing the mask so much, and I do feel better, I mean, you might still notice a little bit of with the voice. I didn't even wear a mask on Monday. I'm not going to do it. I mean, I probably should, but I just, at this point, I've had at least, I don't even know how many boosters I've had. 3 boosters? I'm boosted a lot. And a flu shot and my first shingles. And I feel okay. And yeah, everything's fine with the teaching. So now we're in the third week of that. And I'm all busy and crazy because I have so much to do. But let me tell you let me stop talking about all the stuff I wanted to talk to you about, which will include my reading. But the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, so I had these 2 books about crystals. And I told you how I was sort of getting into crystals. Like a teenage girl, sort of, not to be anti-teenage girl, since I teach them. This is my lacy blue agate. I love it, even though it's from a place that I won't be ordering from again. And lacy blue agate, as far as the Bible tells me, the Crystal Bible, it helps with not being, like the feeling of being judged. So this is so me. I specifically got this because every year we have to look at our evaluations from our teaching. So the grade that the students have given us, because it's connected to how much how much of a raise we will get. It's directly, but not a lot, but connected to if you get a certain grade, you get more points, which can mean more money. So like when people think that we're not sort of, you know, people have a lot of power over us in a certain sense. I mean, to this day, the reason why I have to resort to perhaps this kind of quackery is because I was denied tenure because people said that my teaching wasn't good enough. The students did not respond to me the way you have to get your students to respond to you to receive tenure, despite the fact that we all know that there's gender bias, and there were plenty of good reasons why my evaluations were erratic. It's sort of like irrelevant, the fact that it's not a fair way to assess teachers, which it isn't. But nevertheless, your livelihood can depend on the whims of, you know, very, very, I mean, we all know that if people who respond to these things have kind of emotional responses, and that's not to say that not some of the stuff they say isn't valid, but the whole being judged is hard, especially for a highly sensitive empath person like myself. And I say that with a, you know, like I'm making fun of the concept, but I'm actually, no, this is how I am. And it's as if the chicken or the egg, was I already that way? And that's why I got all this stuff thrown at me, or did it make me worse? I mean, you know, it's like, it doesn't really matter at this point. Anyway, where was I? Crystals. Yes, crystals. So this is a good reason why I came back to Twitter, despite the fact that it's owned by an evil person. I came back to Twitter, and something that came across me, so I actually think they do quite a good job. The German, it's called Deutsche Welle, the German news service. They posted, someone, I think in England, posted a link to a documentary called The Dirty Business of Beauty. And it's all, and I haven't even watched it. Just the idea that the fact that we need to figure out who is mining this stuff for us. These are people with lives and livelihoods, and they're completely exploited a lot of the times. So the idea that you need to be sure that wherever you're buying your crystals from is an ethical place. And it threw me into a bit of a tailspin of how I can't just buy willy-nilly. Not that I was going to do that anyway, but I hadn't, and I felt so bad about being so obtuse to the fact that you have to figure out where your stuff is coming from. I mean, I do it a little bit, excuse me, with clothes. Not always, but I try to. This is actually from a company called Tentry. They're fairly, so when it comes to fashion, the only thing I do is I go to this website called, that's almost the only thing I do. What's it called? Good on You. Good on You. And they score companies as opposed to ethics, fair trade, environment, they give them grades. And so you can quickly look to see how not good enough, or we avoid are the worst ones, like, you know, all the fast fashion places we avoid. But then they have kind of nice places like Pact is one of them, and this is Tentry. This is actually, it's nice, but it's a little bit too big. But anyway, this is Tentry, and this is one of the companies that they say is okay to buy from in terms of all the good things, fair trade practices, etc. This on the other hand is LL Bean, and they're out in terms of that stuff. So even though I'm like extremely willing to cut myself a lot of slack just because, you know, I go to TJ Maxx if I need something too, I do want to sort of at least sometimes pay attention to that kind of stuff. And with the crystals, which is such a sort of silly thing to begin with, I mean, it's not necessary, it's not food, it's just crystals, however much we love them. And I was shocked at myself at how quickly I fell down the kind of typical consumerist, I just want this thing and I'm not going to think about where it's from. And I mean, I'll post a link to the documentary, and I will kind of, when I have more time, look at it. But yeah, and I had a little bit of an interaction with the lady that posted it, some young woman, a fairly young woman, I think, in England. And it starts off, I did watch the beginning of it, and it's sort of like a typical, they go to a crystals fair in Germany, and they ask the young girls to show the TikTok influences that they follow for crystal stuff, because it is a kind of a TikTok thing too. It's become very much a trendy thing. And so I'm just grateful for being able to be, you know, nudged into doing better. I'm being nudged into doing the right thing, more or less, at least more the right thing, not completely the right thing, but just not willy-nilly buying from anywhere. Because, I mean, if you think about it, mining, you know, colonialism, blood diamonds, it's just horrific, and child labor and just all kinds of awful practices that I'm shocked that it didn't occur to me, but it didn't. And now it has, and I will better my ways. And I guess, let me talk about the next thing I want to chat to you about. Gosh, it's already 10 minutes. So I'm kind of entering into a less buy or no buy time period for myself. And the main reason is we have plans. We have travel plans. Again, even though I was like anti-travel coming home from Germany last summer because it was such a horrendous, nightmarish ordeal. So originally, my sister and her partner had planned to visit us for Christmas. And to be honest, I was like, oh gosh, we'll have to buy new furniture. I mean, I wanted them to come because they said they wanted to come. But then, I mean, anyone who knows me a little bit, the reason why I live my life on the internet and you're all my friends as opposed to real life so much is because we live in this really strange small town that's very much, it has the university and it has great people who come and give talks, and my colleagues are wonderful too, but it's not a very interesting place to come visit. I mean, it really just isn't. Oxford, Ohio, there's no bookstores. There's a couple nice, we never go uptown because we're so busy with our lives anyway. But it's like not a destination. It just isn't. And so my sister sort of hinted at another idea she was having, because I have a feeling she was like, do we really want to spend winter in Ohio? And so and it is going to be my 60th birthday in September this year. I'm turning 60. And so she said, what if we were to go, she started saying Oxford, England. And I was like, oh, that'd be so exciting. But then I realized even Oxford, England, however much it would be nice to visit, we need a destination. And so we've honed in on going to London for the week. So mid-December, we're going to spend a week in London for my 60th birthday. And then her friend, who's also my friend, is going to come with us. So we're probably going to do 3 ladies in London for a week, which will be fantastic. And so to help my qualms about traveling, I'm going to fly to Frankfurt, and then we'll fly as a group to London and probably do some kind of Airbnb for the 3 of us. And then we're going to come back to Germany, and Bill will join us in Germany for Christmas. So we'll have 2 weeks in Germany for Christmas and New Year's Eve. So, and because not only is it my 60th birthday, but August 2nd is our silver anniversary. We will have been married 25 years. So what better reason to celebrate? I mean, might as well do that by going to see our German relatives and family and spending time with them over Christmas. So because of that, and it's going to be expensive, London's expensive, a week in London, 2 weeks in Germany, the travel, and this is all private, I'm not getting paid for any of this, so I need to save my pennies. And so that's what has precipitated the less buy. I'm not going to say a no buy, because if I need something, I'll get it. But, and it's already kind of, I'm noticing how a lot of the stuff I was purchasing, you know, including crystals, whatever, or stickers and stationery, is not, and even books, it's all just stuff that it's almost a form of retail therapy, which is fine. I've made my peace with that, but I'm sort of noticing how it's not that hard not to buy all this stuff and to save your pennies, and I've even set it up so that so I'm paying myself a certain amount every day that's part of my travel fund, so to speak. So that's going to be exciting, but that's not until December. So, you know, travel plans for Christmas. Gosh, might be a fun Vlogmas. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see if I want to do Vlogmas. So yeah, that's all that stuff. Crystals, ethical crystals. I found one company that a lady in Hawaii who has studied it, and her name it's Moonrise Crystals, consciously sourced, handpicked for beauty. So she kind of, and then I found a German man who has moved to Peru, and he does his own mining. So and he sells what, you know, with his people that he works with, and he's doing it himself. That's a better place to buy your crystals from. And I forget the German man's name, but anyway, so it's not that hard to find ethical. Actually, I think it's easier than clothing in a certain sense, because clothing, you know, anything like other than thrifting, can be kind of pricey sometimes if you get too ethical. I mean, if you know, some of the stuff is pricey. I do love my blue lacy agate that is about, well, it's about letting go of the fear of judgment. Because of time, I don't have a lot of time to get into the in-depth discussion of anything. I did finish, and I did love Dr. Zhivago, but I will say it is a strange book, and it's not staying with me as much as it should. I did kind of mainly listen to it, and even though it was 5 stars, do we really need pages and pages of his poems at the end, which are basically Pasternak's poems, but he says that Zhivago wrote these poems. And I mean, I listened to all the poems, and they were nice, but I'm not sure if we need to end the book with pages and pages of someone's poems. Well, it's an amazing book. I mean, it's just so wide-ranging, and the characterization is so interesting. And one thing I really do appreciate is the fact that he has two main people who are married to other people whom they actually do love. Tonya, the wife of Yuri, she's a good lady. She's great. She's just not Lara. I mean, that's a little bit more. She's just a little bit more. She's not the one. And then the other guy, Lara's guy, Pashkin, who turns out to be a sort of revolutionary guy, he remains a bit of a cipher, in my opinion. And she loves him, but it's almost like she made a decision to love him back because of what has happened with her abuse. She was groomed by this older man, and that kind of, in a way, that sort of puts this terrible sadness over her whole being and her whole life. And he does kind of set up the binary, which is really old-fashioned sounding, pure versus not pure. But it's almost like a metaphor for healthy, not healthy, you know, toxic. And so, and it's almost as if she made the decision to marry the guy she does marry because of her thinking he is pure, I guess. I don't know. She does love him. And he has an inability to love her back in the way that would mean that they don't need to go with the other, have the affair sort of with Yuri and Lara, they're soulmates. And they're kind of more, what he seems to be sort of saying is almost Nietzschean, that they're the superior beings. And so that's how and why they end up with each other in terms of their understanding, and they just kind of fit together better. But it's not even like Anna Karenina. It's not like they hate their other partners. They both love their other partners. And I really like that. It's more true to, I think, how human beings are, is that there's all kinds of nuances in relationships, and it's not just one or the other. Maybe it's a Russian thing, I don't know, that it's not so black and white in terms of morality. I mean, the groomer is kind of evil. I'm glad I listened to it, though. It was a good listen. It's a good read. So my main read, and it's going slowly, but I'm enjoying it, is The Kill. And I'll have to give you a better update as to why there's a different order. There's an order proposed by someone, and they say that you should read this as your number 3 in the Rougon-Macquart sequence. So I read The Fortune of the Rougon-Macquart, so the beginning story of the people, and in a way I would want to go reread that one again, because I have a feeling I'll get more out of it now that I kind of know. It's like with a series when you don't know. And the second one I really liked, His Excellency Eugene Rougon, about the guy and his sycophants, the politician and his sycophants. I really, really like that one. The female character was great. And then this one is about his brother, who changes his name. It's like I guess he's just allowed to change his name, Aristide Sacard. And Aristide Sacard and his sister, they're really interesting. They're almost, I mean, from the little bit I know of Balzac, they're more Balzacian in the sense that they're very single-mindedly focused on success and money. That's all they care about, is being rich and successful and conniving and winning people over. Their whole brains are all predicated. And it's fascinating to me as someone who's so not like this, to get into the minds of people who are just so obsessed with status in the sense of being seen as rich and powerful. I guess it's power, wanting to be powerful. And he makes them you sort of almost have to admire them. The sister's so strange. She's not rich at all, but she's obsessed with being able to finagle deals with other people, like personal relationship stuff, getting people married off and stuff. And it's what a strange reason to get out of bed, to go about your conniving ways with other people. It's about manipulation and wanting and getting joy out of being a manipulator, is a certain sense. And then Aristide is he wants to be able to be in charge of it, be the supreme boss. So, I mean, in a certain sense, he is kind of like his brother, who's a politician. And he just is able to wrap all these people around his finger. And what's sort of topical about it is it's about corruption. It's about the seeds of corruption and where it comes from. And so much of it seems relevant to today. I mean, if you look at the Trumps, etc., and not just them, other people who are obsessed with, making deals and sort of deliberately making a house be sold for way more than it's actually worth, so you can get the profit from that kind of thinking. Yeah, it's quite good, and the description, it's very descriptive. Like it starts at some point, there's a description of the house that when he's rich, his amazing house, which is sort of crazily overly ornate, and Zola does go on a little bit too much, almost describing this house. But if you kind of are into the meditative aspects of these overly descriptive passages, it's still really well written, and it does draw me in, even though it's going slowly. And the thing is, I'm sort of like, well, what is the kill going to be? It's like a thin little novel, and it's more just expose about this person. So, and I'm not reading around as to figuring out what he's going to, it's probably going to hone in on one big operation of this guy. So in a sense, it's the plot is building and building and building, and that's good too. This is great 19th century stuff. So yeah, I like it. And just another little purchase that I made while it's funny how all the sort of crystally, I'm an empath, all of that stuff is still there and it's still important to me, but it's kind of receded so much into the background when you're really busy with your work. I just don't have time for, the mystical year. I mean, this is such a cute little short book that I do have time for this. And so this is something that was definitely before the no or less buy. This is the type of thing I would sort of indulge in. And I'm glad I did, because now I'm not going to do that kind of stuff anymore. And so far, it's funny how when your attitudes towards consumers and changes when you are on a no-buy, it's like, you at least I'm still in the honeymoon phase of not feeling tempted by much. I haven't really gone into, I really want that, but I'm not supposed to buy anything yet. Probably because I've been so indulgent of just buying what I want for such a long time. And now I do have this concrete goal of wanting to have a nice time in London, and I still want to figure out, first of all, if any of my viewers are in England and have tips for me what to do in London. We only have a week, and I will be a little bit of limited mobility, but that's okay. I still want to do the museums and stuff, and also I would like to find a bookstore that'll let me go in there, pick all my lovely books, and have them shipped to me in Ohio, not even Germany. Will Waterstones let me buy a bunch of books? I'll buy a lot. If you say you'll wrap them up for me, and I'll pay you the money for postage, but if you can do that for me and I don't have to worry about going to the post office and all that stuff, because I'm only there for a week, and I also don't want to schlep them around with me, I will give you a lot of my money. Because of course I do want to buy some books, especially when I'm there, but we'll see. So this is a cute little book. It has beautiful little simplistic illustrations, folksy illustrations about, and it tells you about the different moons and the crystal of the month. So the crystal of the month for January is garnet. Okay. A sage spell for cleansing. Owl spell for the sixth sense. Yeah, I need to go more deeply in this. And then it gives you a tarot card for the month. I like it. So apparently I'm being sucked into this Thomas Bernhard reading group. I saw the best tweet about Thomas Bernhard, because I have a bit of an antagonistic relationship to him, because he's such a, I don't know. Yes, someone wrote the best tweet to describe Thomas Bernhard, and it's from a Twitter person, Emma Wayland. Oh, she got a lot of followers. Anyway, she writes, what about if I want to read, people were talking about Bernhard and what they should read, and she writes, what about if I want to read about men going on, but it's somehow being transfixing? That's Bernhard. He goes on, and he is a bit of a one-trick pony, because it's all about his hatred for Austria, coming at it from different ways, and I'm making him sound less interesting than he actually is. But for some reason, hatred of Austria, sure, I guess it's sort of like the people who are being manipulative gets them out of it. His hatred for Austria and a certain kind of internalized self-loathing got him out of bed, at least until it didn't. His death is sort of mysterious. He was very ill. He was an ill person his whole life. But anyway, there is a bit of a group going on, and we're supposed to read this one for the next months, because the one they were reading for the first month was Wittgenstein's Nephew, which I'd already read, and this is Concrete, in German, Beton, and so maybe I'll read this I mean, I will. No, I will. And I might, the main reason I may not be able to participate on the Vox as much, or, you know, is because of busyness too. And yeah, we'll see. But I do like his style. He is really, it is somehow transfixing. His prose is that good. I don't even know who or why, but on the Kindle, and this was before no buy, because I actually did buy the thing, I bought or downloaded the book by Sigrid Nunez called What Are You Going Through? What Are You Going Through? And it's a bit of a sad book, and it's also kind of flowy. It's not that plot driven. And here, I'm just going to read it out. It says, a woman describes a series of encounters she has with various people in the ordinary course of her life. But it does seem to be honing in on mortality issues. So one of her friends has cancer, and yeah, it is a little bit, it's good. I do like the writing. She does this sort of tricks thing. Maybe this is a new thing. I read so little new fiction, where she'll say something and suddenly it'll turn out to be, oh, that's something you didn't want expecting, like almost like a jump cut, but in writing. I don't want to describe exactly what she does because it'll be a spoiler, but that's something she does. And the style is quite good, strong. I'm not exactly sure if I'm on board with the sort of collagistic aspect of it, but for example, a person who I just don't get along with as well as a lot of other people seem to is Ali Smith. I kind of like the first one of the seasonal ones, but then I got more and more annoyed. Yeah, to finish up, sorry, the Nunez discussion, I read a little bit about her. So I'm at the age when you find out people's ages, you're either like, wow, they're younger than me, or, oh, they're older than me. And she's like, oh, she's a bit older than me. She's 71. And American, but with immigrant parents, like a German mother, I think, and Chinese Panamanian father. So interesting background, very literary kind of background, and a lot of books. And I don't know, I think my sense is, just because I'm not that into I don't know what's going on with modern stuff so much, is that her book, The Friend, which had the dog on the cover, kind of made a splash more than some of the other ones. Because I was reading some of her other books sound really interesting. She wrote a book about Virginia Woolf's pet marmoset, like a fictional biography of a marmoset. She has something with animals, and I could tell even with this book, there's a thing with cats. So yeah, speaking of cats, oh gosh, there's another thing I have to tell you about with the Lily here. She's earning a new nickname, and it's not a good one. Anyway, but the Nunez is going well. My thoughts are very incoherent, even more than usual, because it's been a while since I've dipped into it, because I've been dipping more into the Kill. I need to go back to that one. I kind of tell that I like having a couple of books on the go, so that I can sort of switch paces or what my mood is, and one isn't quite cutting it. Yeah, so to end this rather rambly little video here, we're having cat issues in the sense that we've had to completely cut off we keep both of our bedrooms now closed completely because of Lily. Lily has developed a psychological or physical issue where she'll void on our beds. She'll pee on our beds. And she's only done it once on mine. It wasn't that bad, but it was enough to, you know, have me screaming and asking Bill for help. He helped me get rid of it all and do laundry. But it's a bother. I mean, anyone with pets knows that when this happens, you have to figure out what's going on. And it's not obviously physical. It might still be physical, and we'll probably just have to take her to the vet. But she seems fine. She's being her jolly self. And poor Shirley's the one that meows the most in front of both of our doors, because she's the one. But actually the night times have been fine. So, you know, they're off limits from the bedroom. All of our cats cannot go in there at all. Like, not even, because she's likely to run in and do something. That's how bad it is. And yeah, Lily, I'm talking about you. And it's funny because I had this, you know, I still do TikTok. I like TikTok. I'll get into why I like it another time. But I have a TikTok where I say, she's my good girl. I'm like thinking, except when she's a little peapod. And it got all these likes because she is such a good girl. She's so cute. She's such a cute lily. But even, you know, the cutest creature can be, you know, pets are work, and pets are a bit of a worry sometimes. Sometime in a couple of weeks, we have to take Mr. T in to get his blood checked because one value was off, so much so that they wanted to recheck it. He seems fine, but you never know. You know, these creatures that are a part of our lives are just, you know, they're not always easy. And even like for the traveling, I think my lovely neighbor will be able to look after the kitties for 2 weeks. Like, I'll be gone for 3 weeks, but he'll be here for that week. He's not coming to London, but he'll come to Germany for 2 weeks, and then we'll come home. Yeah, that's my update. Hello, new subscribers. I still am hesitant to do a Q&A. I just think, ask me your questions and I will answer them. And I haven't really been able to participate much in BookTube, watch a lot of it for time reasons. I still do a little bit here and there, but yeah, so ask your questions. I'm pretty much an open book. Ooh, actually, I do want to do a stationery update. I do want to do my flip through for the January, because it's a record keeping aspect of it all. And at some point I'll come back to you with another update. Despite the great length of this video that is going to be posted, I do want to come on here very quickly and mention to you my new audiobook, which is kind of shocking that I forgot to talk about it. Just had too much to talk about, that's the reason. So it's called Blood in the Mist by Hope. It's from 1926, I remember that. So early. British, it's a British fantasy novel by Hope Mirlees. And I just came up, I have a hard time finding audible books I really want to listen to. I don't know, I'm picky, you know, I'm not going to listen to any old thing. And this one looked interesting, and I actually really do like it. It's a very strange, it's almost like a cliche fantasy novel. So it's like the world that they live in is sort of hobbity. They seem like hobbits, even though they're not, they're humans. But the world is, it's sort of, there's enough world building for you to follow along, but it's very kind of, it's not very thick world building. We know a lot about them. It's very sort of a simple little world. Like, it's like Wind in the Willows or Hobbit, but even more simplified. And the plot is sort of strangely inconsequential, even though it's enough to keep me going, and the writing is enough to keep me going too. So I'm really kind of enjoying it. It's sort of soothing in a certain sense, and I'm trying to figure out what her there seems to be, she keeps talking about the law as legal fiction. She seems to have some kind of agenda with that, which is interesting to me because I'm teaching my folk fairy tale class, and we talk about folklore. You know, it's the lore of the folk. And there's of course a lot of the stuff has to do with fairies in a very general way. And of course, as the little bit I know is that the fairy craze was you know going at a fast clip in the 20s. I mean, I don't know when when Conan Doyle thought that the guy who was photographing fairies, those pictures seem so fake to us all now, but he actually believed them, that whole fairy hoax thing. And it's sort of like, it fits with that. It's maybe a little Lewis Carroll-esque, or in a certain sense, it reminds me also a little bit of The Wizard of Oz. It's also the American, so early kind of childlike, somewhat simple tales that have a sort of fantasy quality to them. And it's quite different from something like Lolly Willows, which is more sort of, Lolly Willows is a strange novel because it's not really that much fantasy. It has the end stuff, but this is more straight up fantasy of a certain strange variety. And I just wanted to make sure I mentioned it because I do recommend it if you like fantasy. Kind of, it's not like modern fantasy. It's not like Stephen Erikson at all. It's sort of a little bit like The Hobbit, I would say, or other stuff that it's not coming to me. Sort of simple stuff from yesteryear. And she's an interesting person. I'll come back and talk more about her. But this is going to be a really long video already, so I just wanted to get that in there though. Talk to you soon. Bye.